Helping ex-inmates for over 30 years. Today's topic is the SAFER Foundation. We will find out more about their steps to employment and to meet some of their success stories. All coming up next on People to People. Hello, I'm Robert Jordan, sitting in for Allison Payne today, and welcome to People to People. With a $2.2 million stimulus grant, the SAFER Foundation is working for former inmates, trying to help them find their way back into society. With a tough economic climate and a criminal background, an ex-offender's odds of not only staying out of jail, but also finding employment are stacked against them. So joining me today to talk more about SAFER is the Foundation's president, Diane Williams. Mrs. Williams, thank you so much for being here with us today to talk to us on People to People and have this conversation. And before we start our conversation, Allison Payne, though, is going to report on a recent project of the SAFER Foundation.
This isn't your usual crew. The men and women here are all ex-cons, finding themselves back at a police station. But now they are on the other side of the bars. The team is working to salvage this retired police station on Chicago's west side. Working hard labor, they are stepping away from the penitentiary and the bad decisions they've made in life.
Beforehand, I was the owner of a barbershop, and I also had a furniture store in which I lost it all due to the bad decisions that I made in life. And of course, after getting in trouble, couldn't find a job, heard about SAFER.
Tyrone is one of the veteran clientele at SAFER, staying with the foundation for 5 years. Many people who reach out, like Tyrone, have been placed here. SAFER specializes in many different facets of work.
At the end of our program, we will have created 70 jobs for folks. SAFER Foundation also helps people in the area of finding a job.
Al Jacoby trains the people here for jobs that are in demand for tomorrow. Although creating jobs in a tough economy for those with a criminal background is difficult, the work being done here is in demand. Tyrone and all the other workers here know not only how hard the work is, but where it puts them among applicants.
Not too many people, are doing the deconstruction. And the fact that the program has started and we are the cream of the crop, so to speak, being able to go into these jobs and apply and having the experience behind me and the know-how. So I take that with me a long way.
With a prison return rate of 54% in Illinois, many ex-cons fear falling back into old habits. But for Brandon, this is all he needs.
I look up to them and see them working and trying to make me work hard is a real big, motivation for me.
We're providing our folks a number of different skills to equip them when the program is over with, either to open up their own business or to find their own niche within the deconstruction industry.
Finding a new life and career through hard, honest labor is something that these men and women want to hold on to.
My experience with SAFER would never be over. It would never be over because SAFER has opened up many doors. Not just for myself, for a lot of the other guys that are working here. And the thing that I think about SAFER, it has opened up opportunity for a lot of people that have gotten in trouble, can restart their lives all over again. So SAFER will always be a part of our lives.
That's interesting. I'm joined now by Diane Williams, the president, executive director at SAFER. He's saying that SAFER will always be a part of his life because I imagine he feels an allegiance because SAFER helped him get back on the right path.
I would say this, Bob, about this young man and any other person that comes to SAFER. He got himself back on the right track. We serve as a support mechanism for people who want to turn their lives around. But the truth of the matter is the only person that can turn an individual's life around is that individual. And so we're thrilled to have an opportunity to help people down the right path.
Right, nicely put. Well, how do the clients who are coming out of an institution get into the various programs? In this case, they were working in rehabbing a building.
Yeah. When people come to us, and they come to us in lots of different ways, In some cases, we have an opportunity to actually start working with people while they're in the institution. Sometimes we meet them when they're transitioning home through one of our adult transition centers, and sometimes they're already home when they come to meet us. But we have a series of steps in our intake process that include taking a look at interest, aptitudes, and skills so that we can have an opportunity to match people where they're most likely to be successful. And we do the same thing on the employer side. We look very specifically at what an employer is looking for in a particular candidate. And given the information that we have about this person, we match the employer's needs with that of the client.
What kind of employees do your clients turn out to be?
Well, I won't use my words because I would tell you they're wonderful employees without any hesitation. But if I use the words of employers, they say that they are the hardest working, most flexible, and most appreciative employees that they have. Because there are people who didn't believe that they would actually have an opportunity to go to work and are thrilled to have that opportunity.
But you're talking about people many times who don't understand about showing up on time, or don't have a resume, or who've never held a job before.
Well, the neat thing about working with an organization like ours, which is sometimes referenced as an intermediary, is that we help them with those kinds of things before they apply for the job. So we have a job readiness curriculum that we deliver for our clients that helps them to think about not only how to apply for the job, but how to get along on the job, how to respond to supervisor feedback, how to work as a team member as opposed to just as an individual, and how to really think about the commitment that they have to make to be there every day and to be on time and to work throughout the day, not just to be physically present.
So getting all of these different aspects of learning about a job is important, and sometimes they learn about this before they go on their first job application.
That's absolutely correct. Many times our clients have had employment before, but it was a while ago. It was intermittent employment. And in other cases, they've never worked at all. What we are trying to do is to get even better at providing exactly what an individual needs based on their background. Today, we have a very well-developed curriculum that's about a week long. If we did everything we thought we should do, we'd probably make it 2 weeks long, but quite frankly, we can't afford that. And so we really provide as much support as we can, and we try to make it as specific as we can for that individual group.
I can see that for many of them, just learning about the job experience in general must be something almost foreign.
It is different. It is different to have to be someplace at a certain time and to have to meet certain commitments while there. But I would tell you, we've really been blessed through our work with the City of Chicago. We have had an opportunity not only to place people in jobs through our work with the city, but also to get training that might not otherwise be available to them, which allows us to do something called bridge training, or a bridge program where people are actually learning how to go to work, but also learning specific skills for a job. And so the program that we saw in that clip is a deconstruction program where people are learning to actually take buildings apart in reverse order from when they were constructed. And in doing so, they salvage parts that can then be sold. And we're in partnership with two other groups, the Delta Institute and the Reuse People, in order to accomplish that. And that's just one example of the kinds of partnership opportunities that we've gotten through the city to help people go to work.
Well, there's a lot more to this story of the Safer Foundation, and we're going to tell you a lot more of it when we come back, because we'd like for you to get a better idea of some of the wonderful work they are doing in helping to turn people's lives around. We'll be right back with an impressive success story of a person who went from the Safer Foundation to the office of the Cook County Clerk. So stay with us. Welcome back to People. I'm Robert Jordan. Diane Williams, who is the president of Safer Foundation, is still with us, and also joining us is one of their great success stories. His name is Warren Phillips, and Warren is now working as an accountant with the office of the clerk of Cook County and of the Circuit Court of Cook County, pardon me. He was also named as one of the Employees of the Year last year. So Warren, we'd like to welcome you to the show. But before we find out more about you, let's take a look at the beginning of the process for what's called job readiness at the Safer Foundation. And Allison Payne reports on this.
I shouldn't call it a test. How was the assessment? How did it go?
The Safer Foundation believes that before you can go out into the workforce, you must come here, the classroom.
Okay, well, what do you think is one of the roadblocks that we need to overcome? Transportation. Very good. Being able to get to and from work.
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Awesome. What else?
Building your self-esteem.
Building your self-esteem.
Instructor Harriet Mosley works with the clients at SAFER before they put them out into the field, teaching them basic things that help them find a job and hold on to it.
You got to set smaller goals, take smaller steps to achieve the big picture.
Along with goal setting, the clients learn how to write a resume and cover letter, build self-esteem, participate in teamwork, and help them realize how to make progress towards their ideal careers.
They teach you how to be professional, how to talk polite, and how to do the different things that employers expect of you, so that if you do get into an interview, you know, you have that little extra edge that, you know, might make an employer change his mind or decide to take a chance on you.
John Holden is a new client at SAFER, trying to find his way towards a career in finance. His peer, Krista Baxter, is pursuing her career in the medical field, but she believes that personal motivation is the biggest part of this experience.
The resources out here for ex-offenders or people with criminal histories, you got to get yourself up and do it yourself, because it's not going to come to you.
Knowing that because we have a criminal background that we're not good people. Knowing that we are employable, knowing that we're trainable, knowing that we can work, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. Give yourselves a hand.
Well, you know, there's a lot of training that goes into preparing the men and women to go out into the workforce. And so now we'll have an opportunity to talk with Warren. And so, Warren, tell me a little bit about your history. You were not incarcerated, but you were on probation.
Yes, Bob. I served 12 months probation for retail theft back in 2000. And after that probationary period, when that retail theft felony was on my record, it was very hard for me to find a job. Now, I have found employment back then, but it was hard to me maintain that employment because I had something in my background. For example, at the Film Museum, I was hired as a temp. And when the museum wanted to hire me as a regular employee, they found out I had something on my background, and they decided to let me go.
Well, let's clear that up. In other words, what you're saying is that when you would go in for employment, you wouldn't tell the employment person that you had a felony on your record. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir. Yes.
And so they would hire you.
Yes.
And you were thinking, well, if I get in there and I do a good job and they like me and I prove that I'm a good worker, they're going to keep me.
Yes.
But what would happen?
What happened, I would go to the Human Resources office, and they'll sit down and talk to me and tell me, well, since you had something on your record, which is a felony, we have to let you go. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened.
So that dilemma, Diane, is what faces a lot of people with felonies on their records. They think, well, if I don't tell them, maybe they'll hire me and like me and keep me. But that's not the case, is it?
People do think that, but the truth is if you falsify an application, in most companies, that's grounds for termination. What we would love to see happen is really sort of an adaptation of what people often refer to as ban the box, that we call move the box. And the box that I'm referencing is the box on an application that's typically on the front page and asks whether or not anyone has been convicted of a felony. We understand that employers in many cases have a need to understand whether or not someone has a criminal background. We would love to see that box, however, move to the back end of the process so that a person is given an opportunity to prove that they are, in fact, a viable candidate. And when the employer is making a decision, they're making the decision about a viable candidate, not making that decision based on that box that started the process.
And let's be clear also, I don't think you're saying that every person who gets out needs to be given a job in any position.
Absolutely not. We believe in responsible hiring. We understand that there are certain crimes when linked to certain jobs don't work. So, for example, if somebody has committed a crime against children, we are not encouraging the Chicago public school system to hire that person to work with children. We understand that there are some things that just don't make sense. However, today, people are often much too blanketed in their approach to this. And so they make a general assumption that they cannot hire people with criminal records with no consideration for the crime that was committed, the time that has lapsed between when that crime was committed and when the application process is underway, and just sort of looking at that individual and the opportunity.
So in other words, SAFER recommends to its clients, be honest.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
And go in, tell the truth, and take the consequences.
That's correct. But I think they have more than just the story about their criminal background to tell. They have a story since that crime was committed that they can also tell. So they can talk about the things that they've been able to accomplish, the good that they've done along the way, in addition to talking about that.
And Warren, you are a good example of that. You are now, what's your current position?
I work in the county department for the Circuit Court of Cook County for Dorothy Brown. And Bob, I'd like to thank the Circuit Court of Cook County for hiring me. Gail Luce of the Human Resources Department, she went through my background with a fine-tooth comb. I'd like to thank her. I'd like to thank Dorothy Brown, who's an excellent person, a real lady. I'd like to thank Mr. Walsu Facina, who's the controller, chief controller of the Circuit Court of Cook County, and Mr. Kevin Murphy, the assistant controller.
I know you've got a whole list of people you want to thank, but
Yes,
we're a little short on time.
Okay.
But I understand, man, with what you were facing, I'm sure you're very grateful to those people. But when we come back, we will be joined by another great success story, so we invite you to stay right with us. Welcome back. I'm Robert Jordan, and you're watching People to People. And joining Diane and Warren is Nadeja Beasley. Nadeja is another great success story from the Safer Foundation. She does payroll work for Pivotal Staffing, LLC. Nadeja, thank you so much for joining us. And you heard Warren's story. He was talking to us about the tough time he had finding a job. What about you? Was it hard?
It was hard. My problem came in when I was laid off from a job. I couldn't find a job. My background hindered me. So that's where I came by me having prior affiliation with Safer. I had to go to them and reach out and let them know that I needed help. And
so you're saying that when you check that box, what does that mean? What do you say?
Once you check that box saying that that you have a conviction, the employer might say, well, I'll give you a call later, and you never get that call later. So, you know, you want to be honest, but it's like you're paying for being honest.
I understand. So would you like to see more employers offer jobs for people with criminal histories?
Yes, I will. I was given a second chance, so I would like to see someone else get a second chance.
Bob, you raised a good question about the employers. These are tough economic times for everybody. And the truth of the matter is lots of people are looking for work. And the people who come to us are no different than those people. They want to go to work. They want to protect and to support their families. And they want to make good decisions going forward in their lives. And so we do need employers to sort of open their minds to the opportunity for this labor force. And it is a very viable labor force.
Right. So you now do what? Tell us about yourself. What are you doing?
I do payroll. Safer, Safer, they have their retention specialists, and they have individuals that come there that say that they need, work, and they find them jobs, and some of the jobs they bring them through Pivotal. And Pivotal, we do the payroll, the processing, the application, there's drug testing, drug screening. They do the main processing after, the applicants, they find a job.
So when you talk to other people who you see in the program, what do they tell you are some of the difficulties that they encounter in getting a job?
It varies. We go back to square one, the background. And you try to encourage them not to give up, but when you consistently getting the door closed, you just gotta say, don't give up, don't give up. I didn't give up. Without Safer, I wouldn't be where I am now. So.
Do you say the same thing, Warren? Keep going, don't give up?
Don't give up.
I think it's great that they include us in that, but I still stand on the fact that they made their way in life. They are people that were committed to having the kind of life that they should have, an opportunity in their lives. And so they worked hard to make that happen.
So, but I'm sure you must have friends you must encounter, and as Diane said, this is a tough economic time. I know not giving up is the answer, but it can be disheartening, it can be depressing, can it?
Yes, it can. They have staff. Ms. Williams have wonderful staff. You need support. When you're going through trials and tribulations, you need, support. We can't deal with everything by ourselves. So to have somebody there to encourage you, to say, hang on in there, and they're trying to help you. And then one thing, too, you have to do a lot of footwork yourself. We just can't rely on Safer to do everything. They're looking, and while they're looking, you go out and look yourself. So.
Well, Diane, are there laws that, when we get back, I think we have just a little time left, are there other things that we can do as a society to help those coming out?
There are lots of things that we can do helping those students. And again, the first thing is to recognize that they have, in fact, paid for their mistake. And rather than having those sort of sanctions that go on forever, we can give them a fair shot at making their way in this world. We can do that by having certification access to them so that when they are trained and educated in a particular area, they can actually access whatever certification they need in order to work in that particular field. And again, I say responsibly, I'm not expecting some sort of a wild acceptance. But I do want people to have an opportunity when they can, in fact, perform as well as anybody else in that job to have an opportunity to have that job. If employers would just stop for a second and allow us or others to help them dispel the myths around people with criminal records, I think they'd be very pleasantly surprised, and they could also access tax credits in the process of hiring people with criminal records.
All right, we'll be coming back, but also in efforts of full disclosure, I should mention that I am a board member at the Safer Foundation, so that there is no conflict there. But we'll be back with final comments and information on how you can get in touch with the people in charge of the program at the Safer Foundation. So please stay with us. Welcome back. We're joined by a team from the Safer Foundation for our last moments of the show this morning, and we're talking about what will actually keep going and eventually persevere in getting to find a job and what all it takes. And I'd like to mention that there are 10,000 clients from the Department of Corrections who come through Safer each year, and that you could handle more.
Well, we could certainly handle more with the right funding to do that. And there's certainly a lot more people being released from the Department of Corrections each year. I think on average there's somewhere in the neighborhood of 38,000 who are released each year from Illinois prisons. And I would love to see, as legislators and the people within those agencies look at how to allocate those dollars, that they do think about us as a public safety vehicle. When people are gainfully or committed and employed in our programs and then actually employed in the marketplace, those people are not committing crimes. There are fewer victims as a result of that. And the dollars that they cost are significantly less than it costs to imprison people.
So jobs.
Jobs.
Along those lines, you said you wanted to say how grateful you were for what?
I want to express for Diane Williams. First, I want to thank God. I want to thank Diane Williams for giving me the opportunity and giving me the second chance. Words can't express my gratitude, but I want to show them my everyday work that I appreciate them giving me that second chance.
And more in the same is for you too, right? Yeah.
Yes, sir. Same for me.
And so that's why these clients make such excellent employees.
They do, and they actually reach back and help others. So not only do they, if you will, guide their own path, but they also help other people who have this history to have a better chance going forward.
Well, thank you so much, and that's going to have to do it for us for today, but we'd like to thank all three of our guests for taking time out to be with us today, and thanks to the entire staff at the Safer Foundation for helping us to get what we needed to bring you this show, and to Diane and the staff and everyone here. It's an important topic that touches everyone in one way or another. So think about it. More employers to offer jobs for people who need it. They become excellent employees, as you've just heard. Thank you so much for joining us today. Have a safe and wonderful weekend.